The National News Desk, locally covered, nationally connected.
I've got 2 pairs of socks on and I think like 3 long sleeve shirts.
Layering up as a once-in-a-generation snowfall blankets the South, the state that saw record snow accumulation, plus the latest disruptions to air travel. Then more than 1,000 active duty troops sent to the southern border. President Trump's plans as his mass deportation crackdown gets underway. And the bid to buy TikTok. What we're learning about the likelihood an American entity will buy the media platform as soon as the end of the week. This is the National News Desk, America's News Now. I'm Amira David. Breaking news right now. An investigation underway at Antioch High School in Tennessee, just outside of Nashville. A shooter opened fire, killing a student who's been identified as 16-year-old Jocelyn Escalante. 2 others, we understand, were wounded but are now in stable condition. And that shooter, authorities say, is dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He's been identified as 17-year-old Solomon Henderson. At around 11 a.m., authorities say students reported shots fired inside the school cafeteria. Authorities say school resource officers were in the building at the time.
There were 2 SROs in the building. They were not in the immediate vicinity of the cafeteria when this happened. By the time the SROs got down there, the shooting had stopped and the shooter had shot himself.
And this is very much a developing story, so stay with us as we continue to track all the updates throughout the night. We'll have coverage for you, both on air and online at thenationaldesk.com. Also tonight, we are tracking 2 major weather events forcing millions of Americans to remain indoors. Freezing cold wreaking havoc on the Midwest and the Northeast. But first, the Arctic blast of snow that's covering southern states that have not seen it in over a century, creating dangerous conditions. 10 people so far have died across the South, including 5 people in a vehicle crash in Texas and at least 1 person in Georgia due to hypothermia. And history made in Pensacola, Florida. Residents there pummeled by a record never seen before, 8.8 inches of snow. Other areas with totals not seen for 130 years. Snow was still falling there today. Georgia and the coastal Carolinas, where about 5 inches has been reported. For one Myrtle Beach native, it's a bucket list experience.
You know, I had to come down here and see this snow because we don't get it often, and it looks weird on the beach.
Snow is also blanketing beaches in North Carolina, like this one in Emerald Isle. The severe weather having a huge impact on travel from roads to the skies. According to FlightAware, so far today, more than 2,000 flights canceled, with more than 3,000 flights delayed. Many of those due to the airport closures we've seen in both Houston and Jacksonville, which stopped running yesterday but did reopen today, and the airport in Tallahassee, which remains closed and won't reopen until tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. Also tonight, sub-zero lows, keeping kids home from school for a second day in a row. Temperatures this morning were in the single digits and were as low as 20 below across several states in the upper Midwest and Northeast. The good news is the weather is warming over the coming days, lasting into the weekend. Meantime, at least 6 wildfires are now active in Southern California, with 2 new fires breaking out just today. This as the death toll from the Palisades and Eaton fires in LA County has risen to at least 28. And tonight, first responders in California are battling a new blaze, the Hughes Fire, which is south of San Diego. This as a brush fire on the Tijuana border has already destroyed 8 homes. They are both 0% contained. The 2 largest and deadliest fires that have been raging, the Palisades and Eaton fire, are closer to being under control. Cal State Fire says the Eaton fire is now more than 90% contained, and you can see the aftermath right here, just devastating. The Palisades fire, by the way, 70% contained. And good news, starting Saturday through Monday, parts of Southern California could get up to an inch of much needed rain. One of the many executive orders President Trump has already signed now directs the Commerce and Interior Secretaries to reroute more water from Northern California to other parts of the state. The new order will not immediately be able to help fight the fires in Southern California. But help and relief efforts, they are underway all across the country to help everyone affected. That includes our parent company, Sinclair Incorporated, which is partnering with the Salvation Army for Sinclair Cares California Wildfires Relief, all of it providing essential meals, fresh water, and supplies to the hardest hit areas. If you want more information, just scan the QR code right there on your screen or go to sinclaircares.com. The Laken Riley Act will soon be on President Donald Trump's desk to be signed into law. Today, the House of Representatives passed the legislation again after it was amended and passed in the Senate. The bill, named for the Georgia nursing student who was killed last year by an illegal migrant, would require the detention of migrants illegally in the country after they are charged with or convicted of crimes like theft, acts that lead to death, or an assault of an officer. President Trump's mass deportation crackdown includes new penalties for those who resist his plan and a new order from the Pentagon. Here's the National News Desk's Christine Frizzell.
1,500 U.S. military troops just ordered to the southern border to help assist with a crackdown on undocumented migrants promised by President Donald Trump.
We're getting them out of the country, and they're going to be gotten out of the country fast. They came in illegally.
Border Czar Tom Homan insisting ICE is focused on removing criminals, imploring local law enforcement to allow agents to make the arrests inside city and county jails.
That means we got to go to the neighborhood and find him. He may be with others. Others that don't have a criminal conviction but are in the country illegally. They will be arrested too.
Those, quote, collateral arrests, part of a more aggressive approach now underway as part of the mass deportation program. Also declaring churches and schools not off limits for enforcement operations. The current immigration system includes a several-year backlog of those waiting to have their cases heard, which means 3.7 million people who can not be deported.
It is not legal for someone who's in the immigration system, in the asylum system, in the court system, has an active case to be removed from the United States.
The Trump administration acknowledging it does not currently have the funding or the resources to carry out the mass deportation of millions, which involves not only arresting them, but detaining them and sending them back to their home countries, many of which won't take them, as some leaders resist the program.
I also will not have any part of and will fight the attempt to set up what I believe are essentially concentration camps and family separation camps in the state of Arizona.
Now a major move by the Justice Department, ordering U.S. attorneys to investigate and even prosecute law enforcement officials who refuse to enforce the Trump administration's new immigration policies. A just-released memo says federal law prohibits state and local actors from resisting, obstructing, and otherwise failing to comply with lawful immigration-related commands. Amira?
Christine, thank you. The Trump administration has canceled travel plans for refugees who were already scheduled to resettle in the United States. President Trump paused that program as part of an effort to crack down on migration. The White House says there were questions about how those refugees were vetted.
We know there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We know that a lot of these refugees weren't properly vetted. There are things we need to fix that the last administration broke before we allow the program to continue. So we're on it.
Around 10,000 refugees had already gone through the admission process. The head of Afghan EVAC, which works to resettle Afghans, called the pause alarming. TikTok remains unavailable in the United States app stores for now, but General Atlantic CEO Bill Ford says a deal will get done to sell TikTok to a U.S.-based company, allowing it to be fully accessible to American users. General Atlantic is on the TikTok board run by the Chinese parent company ByteDance. Speaking in Davos, Ford says it's in everyone's interest to secure a new partnership and that negotiations could be on the table by the end of the week. As of now, ByteDance has not yet engaged with a potential buyer. Meanwhile, if you are a social media user, you may be following the new administration. without knowing. In the last 3 days, many people have posted online that they were automatically added to follow the president, the vice president, and first lady on both Facebook and Instagram. Now, Meta denies forcing anyone to follow any account, but it is possible those that followed the old administration rolled over to follow the new. Others claim they couldn't search for keywords like Democrat. Meta says they are aware of a hashtag glitch they say goes beyond political leanings, and they are working to fix it. Meantime, tonight, the FBI warning about more sophisticated email scams. Criminals are increasingly trying to exploit mass casualty events and disasters like the LA wildfires. Also, look out for the phrase act fast. That's popping up in phishing emails a lot more these days. Experts say don't open a message unless it's from someone you know and trust.
Act now, immediate action required. This needs to happen fast. Anything that's pressuring a sale or pressuring some kind of action means that they want the user to act before they can think and look at it further. And I think you can be a little more eloquent AI now.
Homelessness is on the rise in the United States, especially in the state of New York. A recent report shows homelessness in that state increased 53% from January of 2023 to 2024. That's more than 4 times faster than the national average. The influx of asylum seekers contributed to that rise. Rhode Island also saw a sharp increase in homelessness by nearly 35%. That state was second only to Washington state in its percentage of people who are chronically homeless. Leaders there are calling on the governor to declare a state of emergency. Officials say a new village of homeless shelter houses in Providence will be ready by the end of February.
We didn't have the beds in until last week, and we only had power, permanent power with lines given to the site just this past week. We have to have the power into the site. It's more than just a switch. It's about, yes, that has to happen, but Rhode Island Energy coming out and running poles and running wires.
Costco now has just 9 days to make a deal with union members to avoid a costly strike. Over 18,000 employees voted to go ahead with a strike on February 1st if they can't reach an agreement. One employee told ABC News there have been months of failed negotiations and extensions from the wholesaler. Union members are asking for better pay and benefits. Jury selection is underway right now in Los Angeles for the trial of rapper A$AP Rocky. The 36-year-old is accused of shooting at his former friend, Terrell Efron, in 2021. Rocky rejected a plea deal that would have sentenced him to 180 days in jail, a 7-year suspended sentence, and 3 years probation. The trial is scheduled for 3 weeks from now. Rocky could serve up to 24 years if convicted. Coming up, the new steps President Trump is taking to remove diversity programs from both the government and private sector. Then all natural therapy that could dramatically help people recovering from surgery. And later, the scariest moment of a burglar breaking into a California woman's apartment while she and her kids were asleep. We'll be back. Welcome back. All federal employees in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles are going on paid administrative leave starting today. Yesterday, the Office of Personnel Management sent a memo to the department and agency heads with a 5 p.m. deadline to dismiss all DEI employees. The memo also asks agencies for a written plan for dismissal by the end of the month. The National News Desk's Atra Al-Nashar reports.
President Trump says diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility efforts should have no place in the federal government. With his signature, he's dismantling them.
Our country is going to be based on merit again. Can you believe it?
Following several executive orders on this topic, including one in which the president says initiatives promoting DEIA undermine our national unity as they deny, discredit, and undermine the traditional American values of hard work, excellence, and individual achievement, heads of federal departments have been instructed to notify all DEIA employees that they are being placed on administrative leave while their programs are shut down.
What this is about is saying we're no longer going to have protections in the government against discriminatory practices.
The National Urban League among the civil rights groups convening at an emergency roundtable Wednesday.
We are not afraid. We are not intimidated.
Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia represents many federal workers.
There may have been times where these programs went overboard, but to throw it all out and to somehow go back to a workforce that's simply made up of a bunch of folks that look like me, I'm not sure that's in the best interest of our country.
The president going even further. His executive order encourages the private sector to follow his lead. Some large companies like Google started scaling back their programs after a 2023 Supreme Court ruling striking down affirmative action in college admissions. Even more did after Trump won the election, like McDonald's, Walmart, and Meta, whose CEO Mark Zuckerberg has spent a lot of time with the new president, sitting with VIPs at inauguration. Regardless of their position, career federal workers have been put on notice with the president's DOGE initiative led by Elon Musk, who wants to see massive across-the-board cuts. Amira, back to you.
Atra, thank you. World leaders met in Davos, Switzerland today for the second day of the World Economic Forum. The UN Secretary General addressed the forum to discuss what he called the biggest threats, including the world's need for fossil fuels. Secretary Guterres specifically called out President Trump's drill baby drill promise and said our oil addiction is like a Frankenstein's monster that is becoming the master. But Guterres also praised Trump for getting the Middle East ceasefire over the finish line.
The negotiations were dragging. And then all of a sudden it happened. I think there was a large contribution of the robust diplomacy of the, at the time, President-elect of the United States.
Netflix shares reached a record high today, surging nearly 15% since yesterday when the company announced it was raising its prices. The streaming network's monthly premium plan now costs $24.99 in the United States. The standard plan without ads is $17.99, and the ad-supported plan is $7.99. Netflix has over 300 million subscribers worldwide and gained a record 19 million in just the last quarter. Turkish officials now have detained 11 people as they investigate a devastating hotel fire at a popular ski resort. 79 people died and at least another 51 were injured. That fire breaking out inside of a 12-story hotel early yesterday during a school winter break. Emergency response teams are continuing to search for more victims today. It's shaping up to be a busy sick season with the spread of multiple viruses. Seasonal flu activity does remain elevated in most of the country. The CDC lists activity as high or very high in 33 states and Washington, D.C. Nationally, ER visits for the flu and RSV are high, and ER visits for COVID are increasing. There was also a surge in the stomach bug norovirus last month. High vitamin doses may play a role in surgery recovery. Medical reporter Liz Bonus explains the connection to healing from the inside out.
Hey there, everybody. Newer trend in surgery uses vitamins given by IV to help in recovery. The formula can be a bit different for each person, but the idea is to help you overcome potential losses may be needed for healing. Some of those losses show up in blood tests immediately following surgery, so IV formulas can be customized to what's needed. Katie Vincent of Ohio's Advanced Vitality told me.
Yes, so all of our therapies are customizable, so we do recommend doing a blood test before we offer any of these therapies.
If all looks good, they do have a standard vitamin healing formula given post-op that includes vitamin C, B complex, amino acid blends, and glutathione, a substance produced by your liver that involves many body processes. Several studies, including one from the NIH, have recently shown especially IV vitamin C used after surgery can reduce pain, especially in the first 24 hours. Other reports show vitamins such as B12 help speed up healing, help reduce swelling, pain, scarring, and infection rates.
Because it just helps their body heal from the surgical process, and it supports them from the inside out.
If blood tests show that some of the nutrients you need don't jump back up to normal levels, you can be given ongoing infusions in recovery as well. They also look at other vitamins, such as vitamin D, we may be missing this time of year, that can help in recovery due to lack of sunlight, and offer IV replenishment for those also.
Vitamin D is a great one that supports your immune. It also supports your mood. So if you're feeling low mood, if you get that seasonal affective disorder, this is a time of year to support that up.
Now, sometimes if this is offered as part of a recovery plan at a surgery center, there's no cost to you. Otherwise, these therapies can range from about $120 to $200 and may not be covered by your medical insurance plan. With your health news, I'm Liz Bonus reporting.
Okay, Liz, thank you. Coming up, a warning about the dangers of common household appliances following an uptick in deadly fires in Ohio. We have reporters all across the country in your neighborhoods covering the issues that matter most to you. We're taking the pulse of America.
The Myrtle Beach Boardwalk turning into a winter wonderland on Tuesday night, with families quickly heading out to give their kids a chance to play with the snow on the beach. And for one local, Lizzie Noblin, seeing snow on the beach is worth braving the cold.
It's freezing. It feels nice, honestly. I'm not used to snow on my face, and I'm loving it.
But for another local, seeing it snow on the beach has a whole different meaning. Stephen Dotson recently found out he has stage 4 stomach cancer, and seeing it snow at the beach was at the top of his bucket list.
Experience it. I mean, to have, when people think about the beach, they think about, warm and sunshine, and this is just amazing to be able to witness the snow on the beach, how beautiful it is.
He pulled the screen off, and then he, I guess, did one of these.
Making his way inside Tatiana Cummings' apartment unit near South Irwin and Scott Streets in Hanford. Cameras inside the apartment were rolling Thursday when it happened while she and her children were taking an afternoon nap. More frightening still, take a close look. That's her 6-year-old daughter sound asleep on the couch with the crook hovering right above her.
I broke down because, one, it was a grown man in my house. I had no knowledge of it. And my 6-year-old daughter was sleeping. So it was like, that was like my biggest thing. Like, I didn't care that my MacBook was gone. I didn't care about like my backpack. I didn't care about my purse. It was like, my daughter's okay.
Hey, there's a fire between Grove and Warner right on the corner behind Benji's Bakery.
And there's a house over here on fire.
There's people that live here and they're trying, I think they're locked in their house.
You think the people are inside?
They're definitely inside. I can hear them.
These calls came in around 7:30 Monday evening. Dayton fire crews responded shortly after. Dayton Fire tells us that 2 people made it out of the burning home alive, but 1 died at the scene. This was the second deadly fire of 2025 within Dayton. Assistant Fire Chief Brad French tells us the cause of that fire was accidental, possibly due to a heating appliance of some kind.
We say all the time, space heaters need space. We want to make sure that space heaters have at least 3 feet of space around them from any combustible objects at all times, because that certainly can be a cause of the fire when those space heaters get a little bit too close to some other things.
Coming up, who tops the list for the most iHeartRadio Music Award nominations this year? Taylor Swift and Morgan Wallen are tied for the most iHeartRadio Music Award nominations this year at 10 each. They're followed by Kendrick Lamar, Post Malone, and Sabrina Carpenter, who each earned 9. The awards honor the most played artists on iHeartRadio stations. Taylor Swift will also be presented with the new Tour of the Century Award. Lady Gaga will receive the Innovator Award, and Mariah Carey will get the Icon Award. Fans can tune in to watch it all unfold on March 17th. And that does it for this edition of the National News Desk. More coverage for you later on this evening. I'm Amira David. Thank you so much for watching.